So my name is Ketan Parikh. I've been a realtor here in Dallas since 1996, so about 24 years. Started off really as a part-time realtor, and at that time, a lot of the industry was still primarily full-time. That was the trend. But one thing that I had always wanted to do was, just be able to do real estate more as a hobby, as opposed to doing it as my primary profession. So that's kind of how I started. I was with one company for about 17 years. Eventually, the hobby actually became my profession. Real estate is now really what I do. It's the only thing I do. Even though I ended up working for my other company for about 20 years. Even then, real estate became more than just my passion and my hobby. It became my life. With that, obviously we ended up, becoming friends with a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients were already, family or relationships, basically. So that was great. And then, of course, the extension to that was over the years, we got to know a lot of people, and they became friends, neighbors, family, and so forth. So that's kind of how the real estate started for me. With that, in 2011, 2012, I actually got my broker's license. And I've been a broker, even though I've been a broker for about 8 years. We didn't really start doing the brokerage activities, meaning adding more agents and so forth, until 2015 actually. In 2015, we brought in our first few agents. At that time, we opened up Kanam Realty Group. Kanam is really it's an extension of the 5 names in our family. So that's kind of how that came up. We went from 5 agents to 8 agents by the end of the year, and we've grown since then. Over the years, we've either doubled or grown pretty much almost 70-80%. Today, as of 2020, we have about 87 agents across three regions within Texas. Of course, we have North Texas, which is Dallas, Fort Worth, and the surrounding areas. We also have quite a few agents in Austin, and we have a couple of agents in Houston. So, we basically practice our real estate in really the major metroplexes of Texas. So that's the great thing about that. As far as a little bit more about myself, having been in real estate, and one thing that I wanted to do, especially now, is our goal as a team, and really for myself professionally, is to be able to, more than anything else, teach real estate. That's the goal. That's what we've been doing over the past few years, and that's the trend that I want to focus on going forward. It's, to me, real estate is more than just buying a house or selling a house or doing a investment property or a commercial property. It's a lifestyle at the end of the day. It's something that, if you think about it, it's probably one of the most interesting topics that people like talking about. Aside from sports and entertainment, real estate is definitely one of those topics that people love looking at houses. I mean, you can look at HGTV and some of these other channels. They're always focusing on the trends in real estate and so forth. We, with our company, Kanam Realty Group, we want to take it to the next level, of course, and part of that is, focusing on teaching going forward, to realtors. It's, thanks to Anu and IndiaNear, it's doing something like this that we're doing today. So I really appreciate that. It's really getting the word out about real estate more than anything else. And that's what we want to do. That's kind of where our focus is going forward. The topic that we're talking about is, how has COVID-19 really, really changed the, the complexion of the real estate market as a whole? whether it's the investment market, the residential market, or the commercial market. The interesting thing is that if you had asked me in March, where did I see the real estate market going in the next 6 months to a year to 18 months, I don't think any one of us had ever envisioned the real estate market that we see today. And, after seeing what was happening with the retail, and of course with the restaurants, and with the airline industry and just so many other sectors of our economy, the common trend or the common thinking at that time would have been, okay, we're up for a really, really tough season. The interesting thing is that was, even though, we were speculating it, the exact opposite happened, which is really, really surprising. Why it's become that over the past 6 months, but I think ultimately, I don't think any one of us had envisioned what the market was going to do. And the reason is, I can kind of give you a perspective of this, is that the interest rates, of course, with the rates being historically low today, what it does is it allows a lot of people that may have been on the sidelines over the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, especially with the way the market is, right? The market, had been going up anywhere from 3, 4, 5, and 7 and 10% over the years. So the affordability factor fit in that, okay, now with lower interest rates, I'm actually able to afford homes that were maybe slightly higher in the past. So that's one thing that I think has been a big factor for our market, at least in North Texas and so forth. The other thing that's helped is we, as a society right now, we have a lot of time in our hands, which means that, we're going to be we're going to be online looking at, what's our next house, or what's our next vacation home, or, hey, I got a little bit of money on the side, let me go ahead and put that in the real estate market, not knowing where the stock market was going to be, or the financial markets were going to be. So we've seen a huge trend recently of a lot of investment properties coming into the market, as well as investors looking at coming into the market, whether they're new or seasoned investors. So we do see a lot of that. The third trend that we feel has, helped the situation for realtors is the fact that a lot of folks that were living in densely populated regions are now more focused towards suburban areas and so forth. They want the homes. Instead of being in an apartment complex with 500 to 1,000 other people, a home seems like the right approach in this case, or at least in this environment, today's environment, more than anything else. So we've seen that as well. The other thing, of course, is that our economy, whether you're talking about North Texas, or if you're talking about the Austin and the Travis County, or even Houston, we are still seeing a solid trend of faster recovery than most other regions across the country. In addition to that, even though we were just as impacted as everyone else, I think we had a better sustainable market economically, that I think it allows us to really be able to recover and just look forward, as far as what we're seeing in the real estate. There's been, even post-COVID, there's been several announcements about larger corporations thinking or considering North Texas, or even, for example, Tesla and Austin being a huge factor in our state economy in the next 5-10 years, of course. We're still seeing a lot of that trend. And of course, you're seeing trends from, relocations. The net migrations in Texas are still positive. And you're seeing a lot of people that are moving from other coastal areas, or from the north or from the south into Texas. So Texas as a whole still has, a really strong market, whether it's financial, or, economic, or as well as for the real estate market. So those are the things that we're seeing. Investment properties, it's one of those things that a lot of people are getting into, whether it's a second home or it's folks that are in the West Coast or in the East Coast or in the North, and they have family or friends who are realtors here in Texas, and so they're reaching out to them and saying, hey, can you help me find a investment property? So that's happening a lot. And it's all based on time. The fact that we all have a little bit more time on our hands today. That does, I'll give you an example. I'm looking for, vacation properties elsewhere. So I'm sure, as I'm doing this with other cities and states and so forth, we have people that are doing that with our market. So that's another big change. The commercial market is really a hit and miss today. We don't know where it's going to go. I mean, we can speculate where it's going to go in the next few months to 12 months to a year to 18 months. We see the trending, of course, and even if you look at what's happening as far as the economic impacts, right? You have retail that's been almost it's been shattered, right? Retail and restaurants, office space. Look at the trend that we're seeing is, or one of the statistics that we saw was that now only 4 out of 10 employees are going back to their offices. Retail, everything is being done online. And hospitality is another one that's been adversely affected over the past few months. If you take those trends and you just start not necessarily just speculating, but just focus on it as a trajectory, and you can see that you're going to start seeing more and more properties, especially the commercial side, that may potentially, come up for lease, come up for sale, and a lot of people are going to be, under on their mortgages and so forth. So it is quite a possibility. We don't know. We haven't seen it as much. I know we are seeing it really initially on the hotel market. So, we're seeing more and more hotels that are either coming up for sale or going towards that foreclosure trend. But, a lot of them are going to probably be picked up before they get to that situation anyway. With retail, even if you're just driving around, you'll notice that there's a lot of for lease signs in locations, especially these smaller businesses. These family-owned businesses or privately owned businesses where they've taken the biggest hit with this situation that we're in. So I see that being a trend going forward, in the next 6-12 months that will have an impact. Maybe not as much of an impact on North Texas or Austin or Houston, but just in general, we will see a trickle effect from the rest of the economy and from the nation. Aside from that, as a company, we have 87 agents across, North Texas, Austin, and Houston. We really focus on, servicing our clients more than anything else. That's our goal. That's always been our goal. And you'll get that with us more than anything else, is because that's what we're teaching our agents to do. But that's pretty much it. And Anu, I really appreciate you having us on.
Thank you, Mr. Parikh, for that wonderful talk. The question about how the real estate market is during these times and how it will be post-pandemic is something that lingers in everyone's mind, and you have definitely explained it in your talk. So we have a question here from Arjun, and he asks, during the year, is there a best time to buy a house, and how do you see the trend generally? Okay, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so basically, when is the best time to buy a house? Mm-hmm. So we know that usually the holiday months, which is anywhere from October, November, December, are probably the slowest months, which means that your inventory is going to be low, but your available inventory is going to be low, which also relates to maybe the homes that are up on the market at that time are going to be the homes that are, there's a reason for them to be sold at that time. A lot of people will start putting their houses on the market in January, February, and March. So the market starts to pick up maybe late March and goes on till probably end of August. So that's when your inventory is going to be the highest, but that's also going to be where your appreciation or the sellers, it's what we call a seller's market at that point. Today's market is not, the interesting thing is about today's market, it's not it's a balanced market leaning more towards the sellers, which, we're seeing. And obviously, it's all based on supply and demand. The more houses that are available, the less the price. The less houses that are available, the higher the price.
Okay. And we have one more question from Rob, and he asks, in the commercial property market, which sector do you think is the worst affected and which sectors have been least affected?
Sure. So right now, I mean, the commercial market is going to continue to fluctuate. Right now, the one industry that's been heavily impacted, or at least from what we're seeing and from everything that points towards it, is the hotel and hospitality. That's probably going to be your most affected market, followed by the retail space and then the office space. And they're all closely tied together at the end of the day. Nobody's going to the offices, which means nobody's eating lunch. Simple, right? Which means that these restaurants are not making any revenue either. So that's going to have a trickle effect down the road. Travel is been extremely limited, and your business, population is not going anywhere either. So there's a lot of effects on what we're seeing today that is going to continue to impact the commercial market. The one industry that is still relatively strong is the industrial market today. Industrial and probably the land development and things like that. And a lot of it is still, because with land, it's one of the, land is probably the most speculative of the industries in commercial, sectors in industrial. So those two are probably still at this point, land being uncertain, industrial is probably the least affected.
Thank you, Mr. Parikh.
Well,
From the audience, if you have any questions on real estate, you can visit them at their website at www.kanamrealty.com. So thank you, Mr. Parikh, for that presentation.